I'm Rachel Brown from Medfield Green, and here with me today is Betty Saunders, who is a town resident, a member of the Medfield Garden Club. She is also recently the president of the Federation of Massachusetts Garden Clubs and also a master gardener. So welcome, Betty.
Thank you.
We're here today because we have launched a composting bin program within Medfield, and through a Mass DEP, Department of Environmental Protection grant, we are able to offer Medfield residents a compost bin and then also a kitchen scrap bucket and 50 biodegradable bags. So this is a wonderful opportunity for you to get these items at a significant discount. So what would retail probably for about $131, you're actually getting all three of these items for $45 plus tax. And at the end of the program, I'll tell you about how to order, but our goal today is to get you started with backyard composting if you're not familiar with that. And Betty is our wonderful town treasure that can get us started.
Thank you. Composting is easy, it's odorless, and it's very, very little work. What it gives us in turn is what I like to call black gold, the wonderful product that comes from composting, which improves our gardens, our vegetable gardens, our lawns, any place we use it. Composting is natural. It's been around forever. If it wasn't, we would be far over our head in all of the leaves that have fallen from the trees, all of the trees that have fallen to the ground. They all slowly and surely break down. What we do with a compost bin is we speed up the process.
Okay, so Betty, here we have the earth machine, the compost unit. Can you give us some idea on how we get this together?
This is a wonderful unit because it's very compact. You can see it's really just the size of a large garbage can. It comes to you very easily in 4 parts. You've got a base, you've got a top which clicks into the base after you've gotten it out of your car and makes a very solid and secure unit. The top, which simply rotates to lock and unlock, and once I get it lined up, once it's unlocked, you can easily take it off, throw in all of your material, and then put it back on, and with a simple little turn, you lock it and the raccoons can't get it off. And finally, in the front is a door, and this little door slides up and down, and that allows you to take out the finished compost. Unlike the old-fashioned bins, and there's nothing wrong with them, except they're a little more work, this you do not have to turn the compost and such, and so it just goes in the top and comes out the bottom.
Great, so tell me, how do we get started? How does composting actually work?
Composting is absolutely natural. It happens every day, it happens everywhere. Every leaf that falls, every tree that falls in the woods, the apple core that you finished on your picnic and you just chucked to the side, these are all going to compost. They're going to compost very slowly because they're not in an environment that's particularly conducive to composting. When you put them in this or when you put them in an open bin, they're going to compost much more quickly and produce for you what I like to call black gold, the gardener's best friend, whether it's for your garden, your lawn, or anywhere else.
And I think from my perspective, it is a very easy thing to do.
Oh, it's extremely easy. You keep a bucket in your house, and I know you have some buckets here.
Right, this is one bucket that we have. This is the kitchen scrap bucket that they will receive. And inside we give them the 50 biodegradable bags. So this is something that I have on my countertop, or you could put it underneath your kitchen sink.
And you just throw, say you're making a salad. You throw the parts of the lettuce you're not going to use. You throw the peelings off the carrots if you peel your carrots. You take the top out of the middle of the tomato. You throw that in there. All of those things go in there. Also the corn husks. If you're peeling some corn on the cob, the hulls on the strawberries, your coffee grounds, your tea bags, your stale bread, the rice or pasta that you cooked and didn't get eaten that night, as long as it doesn't have a meat sauce on it. All of these are wonderful, and you just put them in there and then you bring them out and dump them in here. The step 2 to that is those are all considered greens. Even the pasta and the rice and the tea bags are considered greens. You have to add what are called browns, and browns are things that are dry. Dry in the sense of dried leaves or ripped up newspaper, plain newspaper, not glossy magazines, and anything along that line will go in and will act to moderate the amount of water in there and to provide, the greens provide a lot of nitrogen, the browns provide a lot of carbon, and you need both to compost.
Right, and I've heard that, and I read a lot of literature about, it's very important to balance your browns with your greens.
Right.
I haven't actually been very scientific about how I've managed this composter.
I always tell people don't sweat the numbers. It's just not that important. The rules say that it's 3 times the volume of browns to 1 volume of greens because the greens are much denser and heavier and all. Well, you will know if you don't have enough browns in your composter because it'll simply start to smell. That means there's too much green in there. It's the same smell you get when you drive by where all the landscapers have dumped the piles of grass clippings at the town recycling center. That horrid smell is what happens. If you start to get that, you reach in here with a shovel or a pitchfork and you stir it around a little while adding some dried leaves or some ripped up newspapers or whatever you have in the way of dry material. And the smell will go away in a day and it'll go back to working the way it's supposed to.
That sounds terrific. One suggestion I actually read that said when you're during the fall, think about your compost bin and maybe saves a bag of your leaves or browns so that you can put that in on top of the greens if need be for the rest of the year.
My husband and I made a circular bin of just chicken wire. Nothing fancy. It sits next to the composter. In the fall, we fill that with leaves, and then it's there right through into the next summer. It doesn't hurt that it gets snowed on. By the time you get to the bottom, the leaves at the bottom have started to compost naturally. So, it's all part of the same thing. There is one other step here, though. After you've put in that first couple layers of greens and browns, you need to put in 1 or 2 shovelfuls of good, rich soil, or 1 shovelful of old compost from someone else. I always recommend vegetable garden soil because it doesn't have herbicides or pesticides in it, or it shouldn't. If you put in herbicides and pesticides, you're going to kill all the guys who do the work here.
I never thought of that, but it makes perfect sense.
Now, what's doing all the heavy lifting in a composter isn't you and me. It's the bacteria, the fungi, the nematodes, plus the ones you can actually see, like the worms and some of the beetles that go through and aerate it. They're the ones who break down the materials.
So tell me about watering your compost. I've never done this either, and I've heard that it needs to be...
If you have an open bin, particularly an open bin in a sunny situation, and we have some nice hot days, you are going to need to water it. This is a closed bin. The water gets recycled very naturally. If it gets hot and steamy, it comes up to the top and then drips back down. I have never added water to one of these in 10 years. Never, not once.
Okay, so that is
that
wonderful.
Should not be a problem.
Nice and easy.
Exactly.
Any other myths that people might have about composting or barriers that they might have to composting that they don't need to think about or be concerned about?
I think the number one is it's going to smell. It's only going to smell if you let it get too wet and you don't correct it. You never use meat, bones, fat, or what I call heavy dairy. If there's a little yogurt left to the cereal in the bottom of the bowl, I throw it in. If it's a cream sauce on pasta, I don't throw it in. Because those things will attract the meat eaters. And those are the other guys you don't want to attract are meat eaters. People have asked me, do I have problems with insects around my composter? Yeah, I get fruit flies every year. But I also get fruit flies in my kitchen when I have a pile of peaches sitting on the counter. So it's not exactly the end of the world.
Right. I know with the fruit flies in my house, I just have a little tray out with a little honey and water and vinegar, and it seems to attract them, and I don't need to worry.
Yep.
And the fruit flies are outside, and
Exactly.
It's not like I'm partying around the compost bin.
Exactly. You take the lid off, you see a few fruit flies come up. When you put the lid back down, end of problem. I mean, it's natural. It's what you have to expect.
Great. Anything else you think that we need to know about composting?
Just how very important it is for the environment as a whole. When we compost, we can remove a tremendous amount of material from the waste stream to keep it out of the landfills, keep it from going to the incinerators, and turn it into something useful. In New England, the average lawn can generate 2 tons of grass clippings a year. Now, first of all, you should leave your grass where it is. Grass that falls on the lawn does not cause thatch. It will break down on a healthy lawn, that is one that hasn't been fed with lots of herbicides and pesticides, in a week or 2. Thatch is caused when you don't have a healthy lawn and you don't have those microbes in the soil to break that down. So leave your grass clippings where they are. Over the course of the season, that's the equivalent of one of the steps of feeding that's recommended for your lawn, 1/3 of the nitrogen you need over the course of the year. The second thing is that you don't need to, you can not throw away your food. You can take your food and put it in here and recycle it. When the compost comes out of the bottom, you have the best additive that you could ever possibly want. And if you're planting a new tree, if you're trying to improve the soil in your vegetable garden, or my husband and I got so into this that we had enough that we put about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of compost over our lawn every year, and we never fertilized it again.
That's amazing.
Yes, because all of those microbes make the soil healthier, they make the grass healthier. Our grass stood up to drought better than our neighbors who had sprinkler systems. It's truly amazing when you put what they need in there. This is what everyone who was in agriculture did in the world for what, 8,000, 10,000 years? And then we stopped doing it when we all moved into cities and we got, wonderful garbage collection and we threw everything out. And it's time to go back and do it again.
And I think it's so incredibly easy. I've only been doing this myself for a year, and it's such an accomplishment when you see the beautiful soil and compost that comes out. It's wonderful, and it really gets the family together too. I've seen that people having a better understanding as to what goes into the compost, being more concerned about waste ourselves. I think in our kitchen we've been focusing on what we're eating, not taking more than that we need, but also feeling confident that there is another place for it to go and it's benefiting not only our environment but our home.
In mentioning the family, you made me think of something else. You can compost manure, but if you're going to compost manure, use only the manure from vegetarians. Cows, horses, chickens, rabbits, your pets like that, that's fine. Do not put dog or cat manure in a composter. It doesn't get hot enough to kill any pathogens that are in it, and because they are meat eaters, there's always a slim chance that the compost could have something in it. It's not a very big chance, but it's there, and so it's better. Plus, anything that smells like meat to the wildlife will attract the more aggressive wildlife, and you do not want to attract them. So, keep that out of your composter and out of your garden. It really doesn't belong there.
Well, terrific. Thank you so much, Betty, for joining me. And I wanted to let you know that we are going to be handing out these compost bins to those that pre-buy them. In order to order your compost bin, you can go to the website, town.medfield.net, and under the Department of Public Works Solid Waste Committee, there is a flyer, and then there is also a order form. So we ask you to fill out that order form. You can mail it in to the town garage, or you can actually go to the town garage during regular office hours, which are 7:30 to 3:30 p.m. And then the distribution of the compost bins is going to be on the next 2 Saturdays. So that is our upcoming Saturday, the 13th, and then the following Saturday, the 20th, from 9 to 1. If we have not sold our order of bins, we will let you know where you can do the pickup. But $45, $47.81 with tax, a wonderful opportunity for you to purchase these items at a significant discount because of that grant, and a wonderful opportunity to start your backyard composting and enjoying the fruits of your labor with the wonderful compost that you should get, Betty, probably in how much time?
When you first start, the first summer it can be very slow because it's like yeast in bread. You add a teaspoon of yeast, the shovelful of good soil, and it takes a while for enough of that to generate to really get it going quickly. The first year it may be 2 months before you see any real compost. After that, you'll have a huge population of the good guys that are doing the work in there, and it will start coming out faster and faster. And by the way, I throw stuff in mine all winter long, right until it's full, and it's always amazing because even in the cold of winter, it keeps sinking down because they're working slowly, but they're still working. So it's easy as can be.
So that's what we want to let you know. It's easy to compost. It's very fruitful in the sense of what you will be able to produce and use in your own gardens. And please go and have a look on the town's webpage or visit us at the farmers market, where we will have samples of the bins and the kitchen scrap buckets for you to see. Thank you, Betty, and thank you, Medfield TV.